Welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate those of y'all who have come back to see another episode. And if you're new, if this is your first time here, well, you know the deal. Click the like button because you will like this episode. Go ahead and share it on social media if you would. Comment below because we want to know what you think. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Today we're going to talk about one of the most important things that enters the mind of anybody who's thinking of getting into aviation as a career or making a career change into aviation, and that is, what are we going to do about the money aspect? Let's face it, your first years as a pilot don't pay all that well. Whether you're a banner tow pilot or a ferry pilot or a CFI, whatever the entry-level job you choose, the odds are the time you're building and the experience you're getting is worth more than the money you're being paid. But that doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing this, because down the road, and not that far down the road, the pay starts to go up, the working conditions start to get better, and you end up with a career that you can really be proud of. To help illustrate this point, I did a totally unscientific survey where I put a question up on social media to professional pilots. Hey, what kind of side hustle did you have to keep the financial boat afloat while you were doing your flight training or beginning your flying career? We all have a story to tell, and a whole bunch of folks came back with some really interesting answers that I think you might find worth listening to. Kevin worked as a mechanic, an A&P mechanic, until his flying career became self-sufficient. Trey served in the National Guard. He even did funeral services, funeral duties that the military does, which they get paid for when he had the time to do that. He was also an adjunct professor at a local state college teaching aerospace. Pam worked in a dentist's office and worked at the flight school 3 days a week in exchange for 1 hour of flight instruction for each of those weeks she worked. It all worked out in the long run for Pam. Steve was an Uber driver. Patrick had a whole career and started his own business as a home inspector, also was an Uber driver, and basically did whatever had to be done to keep enough money rolling in that he could pursue his dream of flying, and he is now a commercial pilot and a flight instructor. Jake was a line service worker. Anton was creative and built a trailer rental business that he still owns today, even though he's flying professionally. Jim was a fueler at Orlando International Airport on the Big Birds, then went into the military and got into medical sales, earned all his pilot certificates while he was doing that. Now he is a corporate pilot. Sandy did line service, swept out hangars, basically did anything he could on the airport grounds in order to network, make a few dollars, and make his career as a pilot a little more viable than it might have been if he worked at Walmart. Aaron went to work at the local flight school as a dispatcher operations person. He also tended bar and did a turn as a curriculum consultant. Not something you hear about every day, but it worked. Aaron works professionally in aviation and has for years. Bob cut grass at the airport and swept out hangars. Hunter was a bartender and a waitress, and I'm sure she was very good at it because she's an exceptional CFI. We even had her on the channel several months ago doing a talk about what it's like to be a CFI in her neck of the woods around Pittsburgh. Andy supplemented his income early on by restoring aircraft. We all have a story to tell. We all did something weird or different or wonderful, mostly on the airport, but not always. Getting that first job can be a little deflating because while you're proud to get that first flying job, it really doesn't tend to pay all that well. But you are on the airport, you are meeting people who are involved in aviation, and that opens the door to a whole lot of opportunity. In my case, the first flying job I had was as a CFI. And as fate would have it, on that field, there was a magazine based there. I flew once with the editor of that magazine into a busy airport he was unfamiliar with, and I had a lot of experience there. So we took his plane, we flew out, he did his interviews, we came back, and on the flight back, he said, "You should write a story for us about flight instruction." I had never written for publication, but I wrote a story. I'm sure it was awful, but they took it and they published it, and the light bulb went on. Hey, people pay you for writing. And on days I have weather outs or my student cancels or whatever, I have time where I can write. So I started doing that. I've been writing a column for General Aviation News for over 14 years. Every Monday I send in an article, it runs online and then comes out in the print publication. I've never missed one in over 14 years. I also got to fulfill a personal dream by writing for Glime publications for a period of time. I think about 6 years. I actually was a contributing editor to this very book. I met some great folks there, and I used Glime materials as a student. I used them as a CFI. I was really honored to be able to work for Dr. Glime and write these books along with that team. And somewhere along the line, I thought, as long as I'm sitting here and I have my computer and I'm writing things, why not write something a little bigger? First novel, Burritos and Gasoline, was published. It's available out there now on the market. It's been out for a number of years. I wrote this little tiny, very thin novelette called Death in the Archives. Available through Amazon. I don't even track how well these sell, to tell you the truth. I write them because I have a story to tell, and I kind of want to know how it works out. I even wrote a 5-part sci-fi series that's available as an ebook. It's called the Lifeboat Augusta series. Starts out with the first volume, is called To the Lifeboats. And they're very inexpensive. It's sort of designed like the old Saturday movie serials that they would show before the feature back in the old days. Us old guys remember that. You young folks, perhaps not. I even got my AMP along the way, and that allowed me to go rebuild warbirds for a while. And I was rebuilding and maintaining warbirds, working on B-25s and B-17s and a P-40 and just a lot of things that were really interesting. My point is, I've had a great career. All those folks I mentioned who had weird side gigs as they were getting started in their career, we've all had a fantastic time, and we all got to do the thing we wanted to do, fly airplanes for a living. And now I'm at the stage where I don't get paid to fly anymore. I get paid because I fly. Just the knowledge in my head, the awareness of how to look up rules, how to talk to DPEs, how to seek out the information I need, and how to teach that, whether it's to a single person or to a room full of hundreds of people at an AOPA Rusty Pilot seminar. It doesn't matter. You'll get yourself into a career that you find really satisfying. It's probably going to be financially beneficial. The big thing you have to get past is that early on, it may be hard. It may not always be fun, but it will get you where you want to go if you put in that effort. And of course, if you don't want to, you don't have to. You just probably won't get where you wanted to go. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Take heart. It is possible to be successful in this business. It's possible to be incredibly successful in this business, whether you want to fly powered paragliders out of a grass strip or whether you want to fly wide-body airliners across the ocean. That entire spectrum of jobs is open to you. You just got to figure out how to get from where you are now to where you want to be later. I'll catch you next time.